Okay, I think we are currently recording, but I'm going to put another program on to record me. Audacity, let's go. Good. Okay, I think I'm recording now. Okay, I think we are good to go. Welcome, everybody, to, I guess, the first ever live video. I'm not really sure what this is, but I'm doing a tier list. So a couple months ago, I put this together, bored and probably drunk at like 3 a.m. and I posted it in the Patreon saying, get ready, we're going to do it, and we are finally doing it. So if you're looking at the video version of this, it means you are subscribed on our Patreon. So thank you for that, to the people who have been, supporting the show financially and I guess emotionally as well. Many thanks. Those of you who are listening to just the audio version, you are cheapskates who are listening to this for free, and you haven't given me jack diddly shit. So let's change that. Get on the Patreon and watch the actual video. I just realized I haven't been doing anything on the video, but I've got my little cursor. See, I'm waving to you. Hi there. I'm waving to the Patreon patrons. Hi. Okay. Let's get this started. What is this? What am I doing? So, a tier list. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept if you've ever been on YouTube. Very popular kind of thing to do. And I thought, let's have a look at a man-eater's tier list. So, essentially, what I have down here, these are every animal I've covered on the podcast before, in the major story. So I'm not including the catch of the day animals. However, I think for the majority of those animals, they aren't here anyway. I don't have any like foxes or anything like that we've talked about in recent news stories. But for the major stories, like the headline stories of each episode, they are represented down the bottom here, and that's what we're going to go through. So what makes a man-eater an S tier, for example, rather than a D tier? We're going to talk about the animal's propensity for man-eating or for fatally attacking humans, as well as the historical instances of that animal attacking people and killing people. So that's what we're kind of talking about today. So even if an animal is not necessarily a man-eater, say it's a herbivorous animal like like an elephant. Where's my elephant? Like an elephant, for example, if they kill a lot of people, they could end up higher on the list. Even a carnivorous animal, even if it does eat humans, if it's only ever happened once in history, it's obviously going to go lower. So we're going to start over here, and we're going to make our way around. So starting off with a strong contender for an S tier animal, we have the crocodile. Now I'm picking, this is a specifically saltwater crocodile, a Nile crocodile or an Australian saltwater crocodile. Those are the two versions of this animal that have the highest propensity for killing. Freshwater crocodiles, while dangerous, do not attack humans nearly to the extent that saltwater crocodiles do. Now, what is bumping crocodiles up from possibly a B tier or even all the way up to C tier is Gustav, the second most prolific, or maybe third most prolific serial killer animal in history, and very creepy because he might actually still be out there. So crocodiles kill hundreds of people each year, mostly in Southeast Asia and Australia as well, as our friend Bob Cattle likes to remind us. Every week in Queensland, there's a crocodile tearing a Queenslander to shreds, which is why he can't vote for gay marriage, I think was his argument. I'm not too sure for that. It is a very prolific animal. It could be an S tier. I'm going to put it in A tier for now, and I may change it later on, seeing how we go. We're going to go A tier. It is not the serial killer that a lot of people think it is, like compared to a few other animals on this list, although I'm struggling. That just doesn't look right to me. An A tier, that just doesn't seem right. Let's put it in S tier for now, and we may bump it down later. So, moving on, the alligator, the American alligator, much less dangerous than the crocodile, much less aggressive, still a threat, still an animal that you don't want to be swimming with, for example, but the American alligator is much smaller than the saltwater crocodile. We are specifically talking the American alligator here because that's the Two-Toed Tom was our example from an episode that we talked about. But the Chinese alligator, the black Chinese alligator, I don't believe they have the aggression that the Americans do. So I think I think I'm gonna have to pop him there. Not that many people die from alligators. Of course, we talked about that kid who got eaten by an alligator at Disneyland, which I may be talking about on another podcast hosted by a good friend of mine soon. So stay tuned for that. For now, I'm gonna put the alligator in B tier. It's not a serial killer animal. It is dangerous. You don't want to be near it, but it's not even close to an S tier. So let's keep it at B for now, and we may decide to shift it at the end. Moving on, pythons. So one of our first episodes was on Gypsy the python, as well as a number of other examples of pythons killing and eating people. It's an extremely rare occurrence for a python to eat an adult human. I believe it's only happened a couple of times. I think in, Indonesia or India or Sri Lanka, or one of those sort of Southeast Asian countries. More recently, it has happened in the US and Canada, where a python has escaped from captivity and eaten children. It's gonna be it's gonna be a C tier. They do have the possibility, they're equipped to kill people. And they do it in a pretty horrific way. Is what they do is they wrap around you, and they don't crush you, which is what a lot of people think. They're not actually crushing you. They constrict around you, and when you exhale, because you need to exhale to breathe, that's when they go even tighter. So they go around your ribs and your chest. When you exhale, they actually go around you, and they don't crush you, but they stop you from being able to inhale again. Your ribs can't actually physically move out, your lungs can't expand, and then you suffocate and you die, and that's when they go for you. So I'm going to put python down there underneath the alligator. Chimpanzee, a personal favorite of mine, because I've played a chimpanzee in a play before. Chimpanzees are not man-eaters, although they have eaten meat before, human meat potentially as well. We talked about Travis the chimpanzee in an early episode of Man Eaters. Travis attacked his his owner's friend, and just ripped her face and her hands clean off without any resistance. Basically, these are tremendously strong animals. In fact, when I went to Taronga Zoo to study the chimpanzees, we stayed overnight and we did a tour with one of the tour guides, and they were taking us around, and they said, look, it rarely happens, but occasionally animals can get out of cages. Very, very rarely happens, but it's important that you know what to do if that happens. And then they asked us, what do you think is the most dangerous animal at the zoo? And, people are like, oh yeah, the tigers, there's crocodiles here, probably them. They're good choices. They are very dangerous. The guide said, no, it's the chimpanzee. The chimpanzee is the most dangerous animals that they have in the zoo, even more dangerous than the gorillas, because the chimpanzees are clever. They can get out of their cages, and they do. And they can rip people apart with very little hesitation or resistance. In fact, a couple of weeks after we left the zoo, in the news, chimpanzees did get out of their habitat in the nighttime, and they just wandered around the zoo, and they went back and got back inside the cages. They didn't know that until they looked at the camera footage and saw fucking chimpanzees walking around. So there's that. So as a man-eater, though, where does the chimpanzee sit? Unfortunately for us chimpanzee fans, it's not an A tier. It's not an S tier. It's not an A tier. It's not even a B tier. The chimpanzee is going to go with the C. They do kill people, but rarely. Probably around the same amount as they kill pythons. But I'm going to put it above the python simply because I think they are more dangerous. I think that I would rather come up against a python in the wild and have to fight that to the death than a chimpanzee. I think with a chimp, if you're unarmed, you've got no chance. So that's where that's going to go for now. C for chimpanzee. Okay, orca, aka the killer whale. Now this is one of those animals that I guess might trick you a little bit. The orca, it's in the name, killer whale. You think they're going to kill you. But the fact of the matter is, in all of human history, there have only been 4 people killed by killer whales. And of those 4 people, 3 of them were killed by the same killer whale, Tilikum, which happened at SeaWorld. He killed 3 people. And there was another case of a killer whale attacking and killing a trainer, I think in Hawaii as well. But of all the human attacks, all of them happened in captivity. There has never been a fatal attack by a killer whale on a human in the wild ever. So that is why I think I'm going to put killer whales down here in D. They're much less aggressive to humans than we would expect them to be. They prefer to hunt seals and other sharks and stuff like that. So that's where it's going to go. Don't take offense to it, orca lovers. They are beautiful and dangerous creatures, but not necessarily to us in the wild. Although I would recommend, if you do find one in the wild, to steer clear. Okay. Another clear candidate for the D tier is the emu. I don't even think this one has ever killed anyone in real life. Of course, we talked about the emu in our Great Emu War episode, which was just kind of like a lighthearted romp. The misconception about the Great Emu War is that, the emus won. Not really. The Australian Army, and by the way, it wasn't an army. They sent 3 guys in a truck and 1 machine gun. They still killed all the emus that they wanted to kill, and it was still largely a success. The reason it's become a bit of a meme is it's just because the emus outsmarted them a couple of times. They ran away. They were very hard to track down, and when they did get tracked down, they were very quick to run. And initially, the casualties for the emus were a lot lower than the army had hoped. But yeah, eventually the army got good at killing emus, and they did. And I remember the Premier of Western Australia allowing the hunt for the emus to happen because they thought it would be good target practice, and it was. So yeah, I don't think emus have ever killed anyone. If they have, it certainly hasn't been in the news. They are, slightly aggressive in the wild. They'll chase you down. I wouldn't want to be kicked by an emu. And of course there is that TikToker. I don't know her name. She's very cool though. I have a creative crush on this woman. She lives on this weird wildlife reserve, and she has an aggressive emu who is constantly attacking her. So I guess look her up on TikTok. She's cool. Okay, moving on to another A-tier contender. We've had a little bit of a rough start with these guys here, but the great white shark. Now, I just watched Jaws in preparation for our Man-Eater movie episode, which is being recorded tomorrow. The great white shark is the most notorious of all sharks for their ability to kill. Now, it is an S-tier contender, but it's not going to go... I don't know if it is an S-tier, to be completely honest. When you look at the number of people that are killed by sharks versus how many sharks are killed by people each year, and how unlikely it is to be attacked by a great white shark, it does make me hesitant to put it up in the S-tier. Which is why I'm going to put it down here in the A-tier, actually. Little spontaneous decision there. The reason is, the animals that are going up here into the S-tier, they're... kill counts for individual animals are in the hundreds. Gustav the killer crocodile killed 300 people. The Champawat tiger killed 436 people. The Indian leopards have killed hundreds of people as well. That's what I'm looking for this S tier. Those are the animal serial killers that we're really looking at Man-Eaters. Great white sharks, though, they do kill people, semi-frequently, not infrequently. They're not serial killers. They're not tracking people down and hunting them exclusively. So I'm going to put the great white down there, which might be surprising to a few people. Similarly, you have a bull shark. And the bull shark is probably the second or third most aggressive shark underneath the great white shark and maybe the tiger shark. But again, they don't attack in the numbers that the great white shark does, and that's why I think I'm going to put him in B tier. And I think that's right. I feel like the drop from crocodile to alligator is similar to the drop from great white to bull shark for me. I think that they're just not as dangerous. They are dangerous. I don't want to underplay that, but they just don't have the numbers to back up going into A or S tier. Interesting fact about bull sharks, though. Bull sharks are the only sharks that I'm aware of that can swim in fresh water. And you'll find them in freshwater estuaries and rivers. In fact, I live near Lake Macquarie, which is I believe it's the largest... it's a saltwater lake, but it's the largest saltwater lake in the southern hemisphere, if not the world. And constantly you find sharks are in that lake because they travel up the estuaries in certain times of the year, and then they get stuck when the flow of water gets cut off. They get stuck in the lake. So there are dolphins in that lake as well, which is, I guess, a good thing. But we are always told when you go swimming in that lake, well, number one, you're going to get sea lice, which is unpleasant, and number two, there may be bull sharks in the area, so be careful. What do we have here? Tiger shark. Tiger shark, I'm going to go next to the bull shark. Probably a bit more aggressive than the bull shark, and I think I'd rather go up against a bull shark. I think they're a bit smaller. Tiger shark can go there. Okay, the gorilla. We talked about Harambe, obviously. Now, gorillas are not as dangerous as chimpanzees, I don't think. However, in a one-on-one fight with either of those animals, I think you'd be fucked if you went against the gorilla. I don't actually know who's been killed by more people. If chimpanzees have killed more humans than gorillas have, I just don't know. I'm going to put him here. they're pretty much equal. I'm going to say they're pretty much equal. I think the chimpanzees kill more people just through proximity because people keep them as pets, which is very stupid. Okay, what have we got here? Oh, I'm going to die? My laptop's going to die. How much time do I have left? Well, let's see if we can rush through this then. Okay, we've got the tiger. Okay, clear S tier. Easy S tier. It's probably going to be the number one. Can I move the tiger? Yes, good. Jump white tiger. Most prolific serial killer in all of humankind. Constantly, tigers are still killing people in India and Southeast Asia. That is a no-brainer. It's an A tier. Elephant. Okay, the elephant is a semi-frequent killer, but it is not a man-eater. I'm going to put him here. I'm going to put it above the gorilla. That's where I think that goes. We talked about the Osama bin Laden, the elephant, last week. It killed like 25 people, so that's a serial killer animal. So that's going to go there. Monkeys are going to go in D tier. They kill people mainly because people get attacked and then they fall off, or they get bitten, like the king of Greece got bitten, and then they die of an infection. So I'm going to put the monkeys here. Okay, coyote. Coyotes are a D tier, maybe a C tier animal. Only one confirmed case of a death of an adult and one confirmed case of a death of a child. However, they have attacked children before. They are not dangerous, but they are pretty easy to scare off. I would say coyote can be there. Hyena is going back into C tier. Maybe D tier. I think probably somewhere between elephant and gorilla is the hyena. The hyena is actually a pretty underrated killer in Africa. People think just because they're scavengers and they like to pick at carcasses, they're not a threat. There are stories of hyenas terrorizing people, going into tents, pulling people out, biting their skulls. And of course, there was the Malway terror beast, which was potentially a hyena or a hyena hybrid of some kind, which killed many people in Africa. It caused like a mass exodus from a town called Malway. So yeah. Okay, moving on. I really want to get this done before my battery dies, because I don't have an extension cord, I don't think. Okay, the leopard seal is probably a C tier animal, below the coyote. It's only killed a couple of people. Mainly, probably would kill more people if they weren't only native to Antarctica. I think that you have to be very special to go to Antarctica and also get attacked by a leopard seal, so that's where that's going to go. The catfish. The catfish is going to go into D tier, just above the emu. There have been a couple reported, alleged deaths due to catfish, including one of our upcoming episodes about a steamship tragedy on the Amazon River where something ate a bunch of people. They think it might be catfish. Billions of catfish, well, not billions, millions of catfish go throughout their days and they don't kill anyone, so it's going to go there. Hippopotamus, that could be a B or an A tier. I'm putting it in an A tier. Yeah, most aggressive animal in Africa, very notorious for being the most dangerous animal in all of Africa. Scarier than lions, scarier than elephants and rhinos. I feel good about that choice. It's definitely not a great white shark, but we're going to go there. Grizzly bear. A tier. I'm thinking it's there. An A tier for a grizzly bear. That is also a no-brainer. Think of all the bears that have killed people. They're not necessarily serial killer bears, but they kill so many people. Like, we went through a whole list of bear attacks throughout North America for like 4 weeks, and the number of horrific attacks from bears, yeah, they can't be underrated at all. Okay, moving on. Black bear. The black bear is like the alligator to the crocodile situation again. Dangerous for sure, but not nearly as dangerous as the grizzly bear. Polar bear. A tier. A tier. More than the hippo, I think. The polar bear is the hippopotamus of the Arctic, I think. The only reason that it's not higher, like near with the brown bear, is just because it doesn't need as many people. It hasn't had the opportunity to. Again, people don't live there as much as they live in the areas that grizzly bears live. Okay, sloth bear. Sloth bear's going to go here between these guys. Sloth bear's super dangerous, but again, they don't have the numbers like the other bears do. The lion. I think people without any education on animals or man-eaters would say that a lion would go up here. I'm thinking lion's probably going to go somewhere down here. Again, dangerous animal, but not as dangerous as the hippo, and not nearly as dangerous as their relatives, the tigers, like other big cats. Speaking of the leopard, The leopard is an underrated animal. I think people would think it's going to go down here. No, the leopard's going up here. The leopard is an A tier, an S tier. An S tier man eater. Hundreds of people die from leopards, second only to the tiger in India, and some kind of sloth bear might be in third place. So that's that for sure. Dingo, D tier. I think maybe 2 people have died in history. One was a baby. So dingo's going down there. And finally, the wolf. Now, the wolf is interesting. That's either an S tier or an A tier. I think I'm going to say it's an A tier, and I'm actually going to put it above the great white. Because of the number of people that get attacked by wolves each year in history, particularly like we talked about in France in the Middle Ages. There were these wolves that were just killing hundreds of people. It's the closest of all these animals to maybe go bump up to an S tier. You could certainly make an argument. If you did this by yourself, this test, and you put the wolf up there, I wouldn't argue with you. It's not incorrect. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So that's my tier list, guys. I'm sorry I had to rush it there before my laptop died. I'm pretty happy with that. There's not a lot that I would change. Potentially would probably change the black bear in front of the alligator. No, that looks pretty good. Guys, this is available for you guys as well to do. The link is posted in the Patreon, which is here, by the way. Look at this Patreon. Look at this nice stuff. You can come here and yeah, do whatever you like. You can get little... Oh, you shouldn't look at that one. That's a secret. You're not allowed to look. I'll let you have that one. That's just some of the great stuff you get if you join the Patreon. So thank you so much for listening to this. Listen to the next episode of Man Eaters when it comes out. I'm recording that tomorrow. Have a fantastic time. If you do a tier list, send it to me or make a video and tag me. I want to see what your thoughts are on this as well. And if you disagree with anything I've written, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So that'll do it. Make sure you guys are careful out there because as we know, it's a real jungle out there.